What is up, Karameli? How are you today?
Hi, Josh. I'm well. We are Thursday. Next week is our first session for the fall season.
There you go. There you go. Who's that with?
Brown University, the women's.
You have recently, I mean, this is your first full season with them, right? So that's very exciting. And I'm sure moving to Providence and exploring a new town. What's that been like over the last, I don't know, few weeks? Maybe it's a month. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, honestly, it's been like a breath of fresh air. I found a church literally 5 minutes from my front door, so I've been able to attend church three Sundays in a row. I haven't told my mum yet, but I, I
Don't
will
get our
tell her
hopes up.
later today. Yeah, true. But it's been great. I'm enjoying just sort of navigating, walking to and from campus and home and getting to learn the, getting to know the neighborhood.
Nice.
And Tua really loves it. So that's important.
That is important. And Tua loves getting around the neighborhood and dragging you along for the ride.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny, right? Because I saw a post on, I think it was on your Instagram, and you were in the brown weight room. And what's it been like to sort of walk into these brand new, they're brand new for you, but they're not brand new spaces, right? Like they're spaces that other people have existed in. What's that like being coming into a new place and exploring?
It just, it feels like a whole new adventure. It just feels like new horizons, new opportunities. There's some level of fresh start there too, a sense of arrival.
Mhm.
All of those came up for me. And just privilege too. Like how privileged I am to be in a space like that and I could work out. So yeah, surreal.
It looked beautiful. I didn't like the fact that there were so many weights there, and I don't really.
Right. Yeah.
And what's it like being, being in the office, I guess, like starting to get to know your way around. I always say this for coaches, like you've got to, when you go to a new campus, you've got to find your spot, right? Spot where you find peace, or spot where you get coffee, spot where you might go meet a player or have different meetings. What's your feeling of the campus as you start to like really explore it, not as a visitor, but as someone who's belonging there?
Yeah. I love that question because I have noticed that, especially because it's the summer, there's a lot of cool little outdoor areas with tables. And I was like, I think I would definitely be that coach where I want to meet somewhere like it's outside that's allows us to connect with nature if we can, right? Obviously in the winter, I'll have to figure out where that spot would be. But where I'm at right now, this coffee spot in Sydney is like a 6 minute walk to our office. So I think I like it here too. And I'm really glad you brought that up because that's how I feel. Like I come here, I'm able to get a lot of work done. But it was interesting. I was walking down the hallway yesterday and I'm excited to do the rugby, but it's just weird that it's like also a regular job. Like there's the basketball coach, plus the volleyball coach, and we really are just at the office at the end of the day. And yeah, just very fortunate that there's a component of it that's part of the whole package why we're so passionate about, yeah, this role. But the office does make it like oh, it simply can be a 9 to 5 too if we want it to be.
Right. Yeah. And you get those choices, right? Because it's like you are just one of the teams, right? But and so your team is nested within this bigger community of athletics, and that's nested in the bigger community of Brown. And so there's all these different levels, and um, I think I'm really excited to for you to actually be with the team because it's like it's going to all change, right? In this first year, you're going to find out so many different things that you were clueless about, right? So how are your nerves coming in and like your anticipation and that excitement that first day of school or is just around the corner for you?
Yeah. I'm learning that I'm feeling very kid-like, very curious, because again, we get to build something. And when I meet the team, for me, it's like learning what pieces we have to work with, you know, and also like understanding how important it is to build a foundation. So very, very eager because as much as I love the sport, you and I know it is a lot about the off-field stuff.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of emphasis in that at the beginning of the season, which I'm excited about. And then obviously working with Roslyn, she too is like very, very big on culture, and Bridget. So these last 3 weeks, we've been on campus, obviously preparing, going over our preseason, our plan, and them to kind of giving me the lay of the land on who's graduated and who we have left or who's coming
Mhm.
in. So all of it's theoretical. All of it is just us being very clear on what our vision is, and then yeah, the next phase is like learning what we have to work with to execute that.
Yeah. That's super exciting, right? It's just it's interesting, right? Because you don't know about the gaps that have been left, but you're going to feel them. And I think that's a really interesting part about joining a coaching staff rather than the whole coaching staff starting you, right? And so it'll be really interesting as you go along to hear how you read different situations differently. And that fresh set of eyes is so beautiful because it is that beginner mindset. Every relationship you have is going to have that beginner mindset because that's how you start. And
Mm.
you just find these beautiful things about people, right? And that's your connection point. And I'm really excited to watch you do this because every time you talk about people, your whole face lights up and it's wicked.
Yeah, and there's also like the risk of will they like me, because
Yes. The
there's
answer
that
is
too,
yes. You're allowed to. The answer is yes there.
Right, right. They will like me. Um,
Don't
they
go
have
all Darth
to.
Vader on it, right?
Right. Yeah. So I'm excited, because what's the saying? Like it's excitement or anxiety.
Mhm.
So both are coexisting.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And it's gonna be a good test for me too, because you really don't sometimes you don't know your growth until you're put in a situation to really call it forward with all the tools you have. So also just showing up and holding space to get to know the coaches, like I think my big thing is like, how are we gonna mesh,
Yeah.
when shit hits the fan? Because it's gonna get competitive, the expectation. What we do know about any season is there's ups and downs, there's a lot of moving pieces. And can we model what it is that we're going to ask of the athletes on the field, which is really stay open and just adapt to each other. And I'm confident that we have already established a good foundation of friendship, respect, alignment. So when you have that, you just feel like anything can come your way,
Mhm.
you know because we're equipped with these people who are willing to just do whatever it takes.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And say, friend, I think in the coaching staff, some form of friendship is really important, right? Because it helps you ride the wave. And sometimes the waves get pretty rough during a season. I actually think the hardest ones are when you're winning, right? Like if you're on a winning streak, like me personally, I'm like, that's probably my sort of most anxious because we're not manufacturing the areas that we need to get better at, but we're manufacturing the urgency around it, and different people manufacture that urgency in very different ways. And I always found on coaching staffs that we're winning, I find it harder to sort of be in the environment than if we're losing, because when we're losing, we're all just responding to the same things. And it's very easy to have that alignment about, oh, there's conflict because it's what you have to do, but like we know we have to change something, right? But when you're winning, it's like, how do we stop the complacency? How do we stay where we are? How do we actually develop these players when they're not necessarily getting environmental feedback about their game?
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. It's easy when you're on the back foot. It's almost easier to identify gaps,
Yeah.
right? Versus when you're leading, 'cause you don't want to create them just because why? I see.
Right.
Because it's like now it's too easy.
right.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, no, you played terrible, right? But you do want to be like, hey, I think there's room for improvement here, right? But that's a nuanced conversation, right?
Yeah. And you're right. It is a nuanced conversation. I think some of us know there's always room for improvement, right? I think what came up for me as you were describing this, like, how do we also, because now you can get in the loop, like, there's always something to be better, there's always something to improve, right?
Right.
And it's like, man, like, how do we still celebrate that
Mhm.
we're achieving what we're achieving?
Yeah.
And it always comes back to like, I think we stay neutral to the scoreboard. Like, are we playing? Are the fundamentals there? Are we challenging ourselves? Are we, in alignment? Do we feel empowered as a squad, regardless of what results we get? And I think if we keep focusing on the player's experience,
Yes.
the game will be the game.
I agree. I really agree. And I think, you know, Bill Walsh wrote the book, The Scoreboard Takes Care of Itself. That's an easy thing to say, right? But your actions are, we look after the players. Are they feeling empowered? And we do, and you talk a lot about the feelings that the players will have. And I think that's a real indicator of the culture that will be expressed, right? Because it's how we feel the culture, not just not just how we think about the culture. That is really what our team environment is. And I love that you talked about those different feelings, right? A feeling of empowerment, a feeling of connection, because that really is, at the end of the day, what I believe we're creating when we're with teams.
Yeah. I also, I think I was reading this article about the self-soothing communication that's happening in teams and sports teams right now with how to hold a competitive environment.
Mhm.
And because I want it to be competitive, I want it to be empowering, competitive, and really having people every session feel like there's value being added.
Mhm.
Because I think with this group in particular, and you have experienced this at Stanford too, instant feedback is important for this generation, and they're not into all the noise either. It's
Mhm.
like we lose them if it gets too wordy, right? For certain things. And then there's this thing that I was reading about where the natural empowerment that comes from really hold the balance of really holding them accountable and people that are saying good job when it wasn't a good job or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yep.
I, that's I never thought of it as that person who just said good job comes from them being the discomfort of watching other people fail.
Yep.
And I kind of related to that. I remember a few years ago I was coaching with someone, they're like, too much feedback. And I was like, really? Because every rep I was like, that was great
Mhm.
pass, good running line, good support line. And I remember someone saying, reel that back. You don't need to do all that. And I was like, are you sure? It feels good to me. It feels right. But when I read that, I was like, damn, I think maybe that there was a part of that in me too. And like, I need this player to not sit in the lull
Mhm.
and like shift immediately. So I think in terms of detail, the micro details that comes with the game, I think that's probably something that I really want to just to work on,
Yeah.
for this season. Be very intentional with feedback and watch for those things.
Well, if you think about it, right, like it's a different way of holding space so the player can process themselves. And I think this generation is quite different, sort of from 5 to 10 years ago, in the fact that they want they want the struggle they want their struggle to be their struggle, and so working through it themselves is important to them. And I've noticed this a little bit at different times, and I think that's what you're saying. Like I was one of those people who really, really disliked being told good job if I thought that I had done a bad job. Now, my ability to self-assess was wildly out of whack. I always I would come out of a game. My wife asked me once, Julie goes to me, "Oh, what did you rate yourself?" I'm like, "Oh, 3 out of 10." Right? I was pretty down on myself. I got player of the game, right? And so everyone else saw a completely different person on the field than what I was. So I think it's finding that real balance between how can we give feedback that they can use, and where it's important, it lifts someone up. But at the same time, we don't just use filler words that are positive feedback words. And I think there's a real challenge there for us as coaches to be responsive to, this generation lived COVID in a very different way in school at a very different time. And I think over the next 5 to 8 years, we're going to see all these impacts of COVID, and how we coach has to be very responsive to it. And I think they've actually become quite self-reliant for their own learning in a way that maybe, the 5 or 10 years before them didn't need to be. And so they've built a skill set that is very different. That's just me pontificating, by the way.
Yo, I totally agree with you. I'm very intrigued with just how all of that comes up, because I did a little chat GBT thing as well about how the Gen Zs used to learn versus the millennials, and now Gen X for the alphas. And because I was going to the U23,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 I think I was saying this to you, that the different generations that are doing different parts for the same thing, right? So it's all these different perspectives. And do we have it in the right order? So I think, yeah, it's us as coaches too. There's the way to do it. And then I think it's like, but how do they get to do it? How does this player do it
Yep.
for them? Yeah.
And how much variety can you have before you start losing the team theme, right? Because you might teach different players different ways, but if everyone learns a different way, then how are we going to see the same picture? And so there's this balance between all of those things. And this is what I love about coaching, right? Because everyone's got an individual story that's woven into the fabric of the team. And together we hopefully will still be woven right at the end of the season. And then we cover what we need to cover. And it's fascinating to think about, because that's the piece of the journey that you get to go on, but you get to go on it 3 times a year with different teams, right?
Right. I do. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Lots to learn, lots to look forward to, and lots to share too. I'm feeling pretty confident after the USA camp as well. Even seeing my growth since the last time I was involved at that level, and coming back this time, and yeah, being confident in what I had to offer. I was really grateful for that opportunity leading up to this, to what's coming next week.
Yeah, because in the last 3 months, you've been in and out of teams, right? So you've come into teams and you've left teams. And I think one of the things that I really admire about you is your ability to be fully present with that team and travel away from the team that you've just been with. And I think that's actually a special skill set. You're very good at not being like, oh, but I just did this with this team. You're actually like, no, I'm here with this team, and we're going to make this team my world for this time that I'm with them. And so how do you do that? How do you sort of come into a team and really get deep with that team, and allow yourself to
Mhm.
travel away from a team that you've previously been with?
Mm, I have a complex with this. First of all, to answer your question, I work really hard at being present. I work really hard at trusting that how I show up is what's going to show up in this group that's in front of me. I also work really hard and shifting, and not, and even if it's the same team, who they were last week is no longer who they are here. So be really mindful that I'm not keeping people in boxes. And I think because that's my come from, it's probably allowed me to shift
Mm.
very quickly from one group to another. And I think where is becoming easier for me is when I understand that I'm the common denominator. And as long as I'm working on me and who I am in this moment, like the scoreboard, it would just be, right?
Yeah.
It just means that my work is done in the front end again with conversation, intentional moments, opportunities to connect. The complex I have though is I'll be working with one team, and I feel like there's this thing in in the culture where I'm aware that I just finished working with another 30 athletes, and there's always an overlap and of like, hey coach, can you check this? But I've got this new team,
Mm.
and I think what's next for me is, can I balance? Because I really do shift to the new team, and the previous one, my response started being like, "Hey, you're so good to me," but I sometimes beat myself up that I can't be as available as I was when I was with.
Mm.
So I understand that we get to draw a line too there, where it's like that was just, I'm sorry, that's what was there, but I wonder what it would look like to really just be an open, just be available to, yeah, to have everything in one moment. And I think what supported me too is being organized. I think when I say yes, can it be 15 minutes, having boundaries? Because it's not a no. But before I just be like, oh my God, I have to reach out to this player. It's gonna be an hour of my time. I'm already feeling overwhelmed. But when I really listen to my heart and I'm like, no, it's a yes. And you have 15 minutes tomorrow between these. And when I'm really present to doing that, this 15 minutes is like so meaningful. It's so, and it's really allowing me to, now I can keep those relationships going. I don't have to be, doesn't have to look like what it did then, but, and when I'm honest with them, they all know where I'm at. I know you're with this team now. I just want to, and to have that level of understanding is really where I think, yeah, what you're recognizing, my ability to shift, that was something that I was really struggling with. But I think we're getting on top of that too, because especially when my vision is to be present, but also connect with as many people in this lifetime.
Mhm. So, so the way you sort of are learning to manage all the pulls, right? All the requests and stuff is that
Yeah.
I say yes and, right? And that and is the important part.
Yes. It's the end. Yes. It's not an either or anymore. Like we can have it all. We are capable. And I can be honest. And instead of me stressing, oh my God, I don't even have 15 minutes this week. When I go, hey, look, what next Wednesday work? Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's so simple. But I was spiraling for so long, thinking that, they need me now, or, my old, still thinking I gotta fix things, still thinking people are coming to me for solutions, when people really sometimes just want to chat, they just want to hear. So it's much better to operate and where I am
It's pretty cool.
now.
And I think as someone who went through like the post tour blues, right? Because I went with the Philippines and we got
Mhm.
back and
Yeah,
you always have that post tour blues and the relationship does change, right? Because as everyone sort of fades back into their own environments and why are they coming to you and so being able to say yes and fit it in, right? And fit it in so it
yeah,
becomes joyful for both of you, I think is the
yeah,
real lesson there. And it's pretty cool because I had it over here. I was like, how do you travel away from that team? Because I think that is one of the things that you do exceptionally well is you get really present with the group that you're with and you've traveled to them, right? It's almost like you've left one island and are on another island. Um,
Mhm.
and so for me, I just thought that. And one of the other things that I think you do really well is that you help amplify people, which I think is a really special skill. You tend to see people's strengths or ways they can make connection or something about them that's really strong. And then you work to get them to not only recognize it, but to actually live it, right? And that's that amplification of something that already existed within them. Um, they might already be using it, right? But that doesn't mean it can't be amplified further. And I guess, what do you do when you meet so many players and you interact with them that allows you to sort of find that point of connection where you really get to know them and start to amplify them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I really have to think about sort of what I've done naturally. I think what really supports me is I understand that for me to get to know a player is they want to be open. Is first of all, they want me to get to know them. So it's always starting with an invitation.
Good.
I'm available. Hi, this is who I am. I'm here for X amount. I'm here anytime you want to chat. Okay. So it's opening it up. And then when they do something I worked on too, it's just listening to what that specific athlete wants. Now I wasn't always good at this. I think I understood this concept before, but what I thought was, and maybe this is me being arrogant, is I could just sit there and remember everything, you know, and
40
be
people,
like,
I can
yeah, I
remember
can
every
chop it.
conversation.
Right, right. Like, okay, yeah, yellow boots talking about, okay, from Virginia, played here. Like, well, like, this is me, like, just trying to pick up on. And even when I was like, listen, okay, it's day one. I'm sorry. I might ask you your names 3 or 4 more times. It was like, yeah, we understand. But it's really me now going home. And when I reflect, I'm getting better at reflecting too. This is where I just kind of go through my day. And then I sometimes don't even have to take notes because by me going through it, it kind of gets in my nervous system. And then when that same kid's in front of me, I surprise myself with what comes out of my mouth. I sometimes I'm like, how's your mom? And they're like, you remembered. And I'm like, the fuck you remember? Like I just, yeah. And that's like, sometimes I'm like, didn't you go on some road trip? And they're like, yeah, we did. And it's just, and because of those responses, I'm like, all right, this shit works. So I gotta, that part there, like, this is exactly what it is. It's about, it's not about an hour with them. It's 5 minutes, 2 minutes, but am I listening? So they sound simple, and I don't know if this is really, I'm describing this very well, but it seems to be what works. It's like really not just sitting there, but like really taking in what they're saying, take notes if I have to, and in my reflection, be really, because it's a gratitude thing for me, Oh my God, I'm so lucky I got to work with like 15 of the best players in the country, you know. Oh, I'm so grateful that I got to work with this coach. I'm so grateful this SNC guy came in and spent this time with me to really allow me more another level of understanding where everyone's at, right? The player loves it when I was like, hey, so I heard you got an ankle injury. Tell me more about it. And then now they're seeing you as, oh, you went and did your research. And these little things like matter to them. And
Mhm.
I'm just trying to do my job, right? Because I want to know why you can't step off your left.
Is it mechanical? Is it mental? Or just not
Right,
knowing how to do it?
right. That's just my elimination process.
True, right? Because it's that reflection piece, right? Because you haven't thought about it once, you've thought about it twice or maybe three times.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this idea of doing reflection, I think, is, you said you've sort of learned to do it, right? Like, it's not something you were just born with. It's it's something you developed over the course of time.
Of course. Like, yeah, you know, my I'm a controller, right? So it's a character of mine, and I know that's comes from growing up in chaotic environments. So when you're just juggling and you're going from one thing to the next, reflection just doesn't. I think as an athlete too, we just thought, of course, yeah, I sat down, I journaled that we learned how to scrum today. Like, that's enough, like, oh yeah, today was about the attack. But like, yeah, like another level of reflection where it allows me to be grateful too. Like the gratitude always has to come down to that. And then it just allows me to be present because I'll be honest, like sometimes I find myself when I'm anxious, it's because I'm thinking about something that hasn't happened yet.
Mm.
So sometimes reflecting brings me back to the present, even though it's taking you to the past because you're thinking about your day. But it allows me another opportunity to visualize, practice, and really, okay, how did that make me feel? It's like, oh man, I remember feeling like, anxious about that, or lunch was great. So I just, yeah, reflect on how I was showing up, and then it supports me for the next day too.
Yeah.
It's like a win-win.
Right. And I think the most important part about reflection is it has a why. And your why seems to be that gratitude, right? Like it's that gratitude and connection to people. And I think having that as a part of your reflection means that you want to come back to it as opposed to you have to come back to it.
Yes. Yeah. And even like that languaging and that shift, it's just a game changer for me. And it works for me. I know that because of the feedback I get from,
Yeah.
like you said, like by you saying I amplify people, I just I think what it is I just remind everyone of why they're here. I think sometimes we can assume that players that know that they're here because they're good, that they know that.
Mhm.
But I think we sometimes forget we were that kid once, and we know sometimes we didn't know we were meant to be there, and we don't hear it from our parents. Some of us hear it from our partners sometimes. So, and I think that's the tricky part was like, do you want to, is that a reason to give continuous feedback, because you're like, oh, maybe they didn't hear it. No, but I don't know. I think if my body says say it, then I just say it. I think that's where I'm at. Everything's trial and error. And I get to trust my context. And as long as I'm coming from a place of gratitude, the chances of it landing in a positive way is way higher. So gratitude also supports me a bit like having emergency food.
Yeah.
Like I can't be hangry. So otherwise
My soul can't be
it's gonna be
hangry
a
and my
terrible
body
day.
can't be hangry either.
Like for real. You get it, right? Because like when we do our prep, we can go about our day knowing we've done the things. But the world be lifing sometimes though,
Yeah.
especially in
I
this day and age.
think the worst thing in any environment is when I get a text message from a player saying, "Oh, can I talk to you?" Right, but I don't get anything more than that. And that's just the entirety of the text message. That's like honestly that moment for me. Even as I said it now, I'm like, oh, right, like my whole body just like,
Can we talk about that? Yeah, why?
because like my anxiety goes through the roof because immediately I'm like, Sutcliffe, you fucked up, right? Like that's my first thought if I get a text message like that, and it's really hard for me because I want to be like, just tell me what it is right now, and but patience is a virtue, and it really is with relationships, right? Like sometimes you just have to wait until someone's ready, and if you force it, I lose that opportunity. At the same time, I have learned that I'm not allowed to just be anxious and wind myself into a ball. It's just like, no, it's going on the calendar. This is when we're going to talk about it. And I've never actually thought about this as gratitude. What I learned to reply back to that was, thanks. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Right. And that little sentence reply, actually, even as I say it now, like I'm just releasing all that tension, right? Because it's, I'm so grateful that they want to talk to me, right? I'm so grateful that you're coming to me and that I get to participate in this part of the journey with you, right? And it's so different, but like that first text message, oh, it's terrifying for me because, you know,
You're you're better than I am. I legit am like, so love to talk to you. Can I get a little heads up on what it's about so I'm prepared? Cause and the minute I also recognized that I felt like that with those texts. It's like someone going, can you do me a favor? And then what? You want me to say yes? Just text me what the favor is. Like, so I I feel exactly like you do. And I actually don't even text that stuff anymore. When I want to chat with someone, because of that, I give them, hey, can you ever chat? It's about
Yeah.
like I think that's being courteous.
Yep. But as a young kid, I never
At
would
the
have said
same
that,
time.
right?
Right.
Like as a young kid, I would have been like, "Yo, can I talk to you later?" And like,
Right.
and because I'm
Right. At the
looking at
same
it,
time,
I might
yeah.
get a cue, right, about what this is about. And like, if you've dropped someone or whatever, like, you know what that conversation is probably going to be about, right? Because there's only 23 jerseys to give out, and sometimes people are upset, but
Yeah.
they still want to talk to you. And like for me, that reframe, like I didn't even realize that that's how big an impact it was having on me. But just saying thank you, and I look forward to talking to you. Like that's such a big. I'm not pushing them away anymore, right? Because I
Yeah.
felt like often my text messages would just like create angst for both of us, right? Because my father was
Right.
be, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, no worries, and like I just said too much instead of saying thank you, right? And just I try
I
and
hear
teach
you.
this
I
to
think
my kids with feedback as well. It's like you might not agree with the feedback, and that's okay, but just say thank you because someone came up to you and said something to you, right?
mm,
And it's
mm,
what you're thanking them for is the attention, right? Then you can put the feedback and you can be like, do I want to take this feedback on, or is this feedback where I might be going in a different direction than what they think I'm going, right? But if we can separate out the action of like someone caring for me from the words that they're saying, I actually get to build my community much bigger and stronger than I would be if I just took them at the face value of their words.
oh, that's so good. You're right. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, because what's making us anxious? We're making up that it's gonna be negative, right? How many times have we stressed about something and then when we get there, they're like, "Oh, I just want to check if my water bottle's in your car," and you're like,
The worst.
"I gave it to you already." Like, but yeah, and yeah, communication. They say money is the root of all evil, but I personally think it's shitty communication.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up because I've saved this question for last because
Oh,
you're, and you happen to be wearing the USA Rugby jersey. I didn't know you were going to be wearing that, but recently you got to go to the USA Rugby 50th, which was also the women's national 15s team in their send off to the World Cup. And like, just in case someone's never doesn't know who you are, you're a former women's national team captain and you've coached in the pathway and so there's all these relationships there, right? What was it like for you, like getting to be a part of that moment of celebration, right? A cumulative moment for USA Rugby, but also this moment where I don't know how many players was it, 33, 31 players were named to that team and they're off in England now preparing to face England in their World Cup opener. What was it like for you?
it was very wholesome for me. I was really grateful to, yeah, have been there because I almost didn't make it. But it was wholesome and I'm excited for them too. It was a lot, I'll be honest. It was a little overwhelming, like being in the jersey ceremony, something that, and sitting at the back and watching them all go up with their parents. It was just like, it was almost like, damn, we were there. And it's just another memory. Like in a way, it really like simplified
Mm.
what it was, and kind of perspective of like, this jersey will always remain and energies are really going to come through. And for me, it was just amazing to even see the legacy that you're a part of, that I get to be a part of,
Mhm.
you know. And then there are little things like Talia, obviously going to her World Cup. She's someone, it's full circle because when I was going to my World Cup, she was with New York. I mean, at New York with me, she invited me to her college and we did this whole thing. And then to see her follow her dreams and now be in the squad was huge. It was beautiful. And I was really glad that I was there because I know when I was playing how meaningful it was to see alum show up,
Mhm.
to feel like you have the support of and that people are proud, you know, those of
Mhm.
us who wore it are proud to see them go and represent us. So, and then obviously seeing Alona Ma after all of the stuff that she's been able to kind of the spaces she's gotten us in, and you know, she's like, seen you in ages, and I was like, Alona, oh my god, like love, 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 love what you're doing, you know, and yeah, it was just a really good energy. And then with my start with the men's team with MLR too, like I recognize like I knew so many people in the
Mhm.
room too. So yeah, it was nice. It was a good community representation. And then obviously having Michelle Kang there too.
Mhm.
Like there was something about her and speaking about like what she's gonna do to shift our game. And I just felt the room really we're just ready. We're just ready for what next.
Yeah.
And I was really glad to be able to be in that energy with them.
It's cool to see that the people, and I'll use a very um, rugby term, right? The shoulders you're standing on, right? So this current team is standing on your shoulders. You stood on the generation that came before you, stood on the generation that came before them. And it's cool now because I think there have been times where the shoulders that you were standing on, you weren't sure if they were coming with you. And I feel like right now, everyone recognizes this moment where you are the foundation for what they get next. And that is, and there's not any, there's so much energy, positive energy towards it. There's no like, oh, I wish it was me. It's like, no, we had our time in the sun and now it's this next group's time and their time's going to be amazing and they get to stand on their shoulders. And I think that that vibe has really come through in a lot of people's posts and the way people talk about it. So same with you now.
Yeah, they deserve that. You know, some of only a few percentage, a small group can speak into what it's like to be in those shoes, you know, and I think it's even more of a reason why we get to connect and support each other. But you're right, there was definitely a moment in my campaign where we felt like we were on an island,
Mhm.
you know, and I remember us and you see I was there, Alicia and Christine Summer run the WXV. It's like our World Cup, the 2017, kind of really went behind the scenes, you know. It was like we played, but we came away going, okay, we know that we get to the root of this, and a lot of us started coaching. But yeah, I'm so proud of them too. Also seeing there's a funding issue, we're not just gonna complain about it. We're gonna do something about it, you know. So yeah, it was amazing to see the various World Cups come together and play a different role in supporting this team
Yeah,
go
it,
on,
it's
like you
amazing.
said, into the sun.
Yeah, it's their time in the
Yeah,
sun, right? Like they get to play in the sun and like you get to be a part of that legacy. And,
yeah,
you know, like anytime someone puts on that jersey, that one or that three, right? Like they're carrying some of your
yeah.
spirit with them, right? And um, one of the things I love about rugby tradition is that we still play 1 through 15, right? And I really love that idea that you're borrowing the jersey for a short time and you've got to leave it for the next person to step into as well. And I think I'm just glad that you got to be a part of that energy and excitement because I was definitely seeing the pictures come up going, probably should have gone, probably should have been there.
I tell you, yeah, you know, it's surprising too because there was a lot of people in the rugby community that I know weren't there.
Mhm.
And when I was writing my post about, you know, congratulating USA being 50, I recognized that we got a lot of work to do, like as a community to really get behind, you know, USA rugby. So yeah, it was interesting because I was definitely looking around the room going, oh, there's a lot of people not here,
Mhm.
you know. So but I'm glad that what you're saying is what people are seeing was maybe inspiring, maybe like rekindling that fire, you know. I know World Cups can do that to us, you know, that yeah. And the next cycle is starting up. So I think everyone also takes the World Cup as like, all right, let's reset, you know,
Away we go.
what can we do for this?
Yeah. quads are such interesting things, right? The Olympic quad, and you have the World Cup quad, and also Brown University has their quad, right? Like 4 years, maybe
Right.
it's five for some people, but they're all these quads. And what I love about it is you get to see delineated growth because we've created these like time demarkers, and we're like, oh yeah,
Mm,
this is who I was over these 4 years. And it's kind of cool to look back, and you're going to see freshmen grow up to be seniors, and they'll go through their four different levels, right? And I swear they do a personality change every summer. It's like no, now I'm supposed to be this sort of person. Now I'm supposed to be this sort of person. Now I'm going to be this, and this is who I am. And then you see them a year later, they're a completely different person after they graduate. You're like,
right.
who did I know? Like, what? Who was the person that I was talking to?
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I love it. I love people, right? I love people. I love getting to know them. I love getting to share moments in their journey. And so I want to thank you for sharing some more of your moments in your journey. And I look forward to doing this as your season goes on, and just checking in with you and seeing what your learnings are, because I think for me, I just love talking to you, right? And it reminds me that joy comes in so many different forms and in so many different places. So thank you for letting me share in your journey.
Mm, of course. Thank you for just always bringing that out of me. You know, I'm really, really proud and excited that at least in sports, we're finally seeing the value and getting our heads right, getting managing and being okay that there's feelings involved. Because we know it's the feelings that really allow us to be competitors.
Mhm.
So it's just instead of hiding them, let's embrace them and figure out how to use them to our strength. So
Yeah.
love
Harness
our
that
joy
energy,
story.
right? I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.